This will be the last you see of me.
Welcome my friends to another video of Honkai Star Rail. Today we are going to talk about Jingliu, how to build her and which traces should you focus on in order to get her to her maximal potential with as low investment as possible. Now before we start, don't forget to subscribe my channel if you haven't already to stay notified with everything new about Honkai Star Rail, and if you enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button and share the video with your friends. And without any further ado, let's just get started. So first of all, you need to know that Jingliu is going to focus majorly on her skill and ultimate damage, and she gains a massive buff to her critical rate and attack in the spectral transmigration state, which she enters by using her skill 2 times. Now I wanted to mention this first because we are going to talk about this as well during the selection of the relics and the planar ornament, and when you are going to choose your traces that you want to upgrade as well. This is going to be very important to know. Now let's talk about the relic set. So the first relic set, which I think is very important for her and is going to give her her maximal potential, is the Hunter of Glacial Forest. In my opinion, this is the best set you can have for her, because it is going to increase her ice damage, not attack, but ice damage, which is the most important stat for any damage dealer, because when you increase the usual damage, it's not going to be as effective as increasing the element damage. So basically increasing her ice damage is incredibly useful for her, and when she uses the ultimate, she is going to get a 25% extra critical damage as well, which is incredibly important for her because, as I said before, when she enters the spectral transmigration state, she gains a massive buff to her critical rate, and she gains 50%, so that is going to make majority, if not all, of her attacks in that state critical attacks. So basically this 25% critical damage is going to be very good for her. Now another relic set that you can use is a combination of 2 ice damage relics and 2 speed relics. You can take basically 2 relics from the Hunter of Glacial Forest for the 10% ice damage, because as I said before, this is the most important stat you can give her, and then 2 of the Messenger Traversing Hackerspace for the 6% extra speed, so that she can attack even more, and the more she can attack, the more she is going to enter into the spectral transmigration state, which is what you want for her, because she gains a lot during inside that state, and she is going to be actually in her maximal potential only inside that state. You can't have her at her maximal potential outside of that state. Anyways, in my opinion, these are actually the 2 best sets for her. As I said before, the best one is a 4 set or 4 pieces of the Hunter of Glacial Forest, and another one that could be good is 2 pieces of the Hunter of Glacial Forest for the ice damage, and 2 pieces of the Messenger Traversing Hackerspace for the 6% speed increasing. Now, as for the main stats, I think that for the body you should focus on critical damage, because as I said before, she gains a massive buff for her critical rate in the spectral transmigration state, or attack. But in my opinion, the most important one is critical damage, because once again, the critical damage is going to be more useful for her than the attack, especially with the fact that she already has a very big number for her critical rate, so she is going to actually hit critical attacks way more than other characters does, without even the need of building her with a critical rate actually, which is incredibly useful for her since she is a damage dealer. So in my opinion, you should try to get a body part that is critical damage and is good, and by is good I mean its substats is good, and we are going to talk about which substats are the best for her as well. But if you can't find one like that, you can use an attack body part, and that is going to be good as well. Now as for the boots, I think that the speed is the best one for it, or if you can't find a good speed one, because unfortunately it's extremely hard to get actually a speed boot. I don't really understand why, but it's extremely hard. So if you can't find a good speed boot, you can actually use an attack one, and that is going to be very good as well. But as I said before, you should focus first on speed. But if you can't find a good speed one, unfortunately it's not only hard to get it, but also when you get it, you get a very bad one with bad stats. So that's why if you can't actually find a good one, you can use an attack boot, as I said before, and that is going to be very good as well. Now as for the planar ornament, I think that the only, and when I say only, I mean only set that is going to be very good for her and will get her to her maximum potential, because as I said before, we want her at her maximum potential, right? We don't want anything else. There are other sets that you can use that are going to be good for her, but good is not what we want. We want perfect. So the perfect set for her is the I'll never pronounce it right, so I'll just put it actually on the screen. Rutilant arena, or whatever that is. That is going to be the absolute best set for her. And it is because of the fact that it actually increases her critical rate by 8%, but not only that, when she actually hits the 70% or higher, it increases the wearer's basic attack and skill damage by 20%. And as I said before, since she gains a 50% extra critical rate in the spectral transmigration state, she is going to have it way easier than other characters to hit that 70% cap in order to be able to take advantage of that buff. So in my opinion, this is the absolutely best set for her. It is going to increase her critical rate by 8%, and hopefully, not hopefully actually, most likely it is going to increase her basic attack and skill damage by 20% in her spectral transmigration state, because if you calculate it, you have 50% from the spectral transmigration state, and then you have 8% from the set itself. So all you need is just 12% more critical rate, which is incredibly easy to get actually. So you can see that it is going to be very good set for her, and it is going to get her to her maximal potential, because as I said before, her skill damage is what you are going to focus on, and it is what where she is going to gain her majority of damage from, because you are going to use her skill damage always. Like, if you actually use her basic attack, then you did screw up somewhere along the rotation. You screwed up, and that isn't good. You have to use her skill damage always in order to get her as many times as possible into the spectral transmigration state, so that you can gain the maximum potential of her. Now when you go to the main stats, on the sphere, the best stat you can have on it is ice damage, and it is a must. You can't have anything else. Ice damage, as I said before, is the most important stat for any ice damage dealer. The element damage is actually the best stat for any element damage dealer. So basically for someone like Seele, it is going to be quantum. For someone like Dan Hong, inbibitor lunae, it is going to be basically imaginary, and so on. So for Jingliu, it is going to be ice damage, and this is a must. As I said before, you should not use anything else there. You should farm until you get a good one, and it doesn't have to be actually a good one, just as long as you have ice damage sphere, that is what you need there. But if it is a good one with good substats, that is going to be even better. As for the rope, I think that the best one is going to be actually the attack, because the other stuff that are there aren't going to be actually as useful for her, and they aren't going to get her to her maximum potential. So the sphere should be ice damage, the rope should be attack. Now, if we go to the substats for everything, you should always prioritize the critical damage and speed. If you can get substats that has actually critical damage and speed, that is going to be the absolute best thing you can get actually as substats. However, if you can't, you can also get the attack percentage and critical rate. They are going to be very useful for her as well. So, as I said before, mainly focus on critical damage and speed. If you can't find critical damage and speed, then try to get the attack percentage and critical rate. That is going to be very good as well. But anything else is going to be bad. So try to get the relics and planar ornament that has actually at least something of these: critical damage, speed, attack percentage, or critical rate. These are going to be the best substats for her. Now, when it comes to the light cons, the best free-to-play light cons are actually Fall of Aeon and Secret Vow. These are the best choices for her, and unfortunately there aren't many other free-to-play choices for her, so these are the only two that I am going to mention here. And when it comes to the traces, as I said before, you want to get her to her maximum potential with as low investment as possible. So you should never upgrade her basic attack, because unless you have basically an abundance of materials that you don't know what you are going to use them for, then in that case upgrade the basic attack. But you should never ever upgrade her basic attack, because as I said before, you should never ever use her basic attack. If you used her basic attack, then you actually screwed up somewhere in the rotation, and that rotation is already destroyed. So having extra or bonus damage on her basic attack isn't going actually to help you with anything. So in my opinion, you should only focus on her skill and ultimate first, upgrade these two traces to the max, and then try to upgrade her talent and damage traces. You know, there are the damage traces where they increase her critical damage or attack or ice damage. These traces are going to be the most important ones after the skill and ultimate. Once you are done with the skill and ultimate, then focus on the talent and the damage traces, because these are going to be good. And as I said before, never ever upgrade her basic attack, because she isn't going to have any use of it at all. It's going to be just a waste of materials on something that you aren't going actually to use that much, or you should not ever use as well. So this is, in my opinion, how you should build Jingliu and which traces you should focus on. I hope that this video was useful for you, and if it was, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so that they can enjoy it too. And if you got any useful information from this video, or if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe my channel and turn on the notification bell beside it so that you stay notified with everything new about Honkai Star Rail. And with that being said, see you as always in the next video of Honkai Star Rail.